Hello everybody, meteorologist Brad Warner here for Region Weather Live, your YouTube source for weather across the Dakotas and Minnesota, and I wanted to give just a quick little update for this storm system that everybody's talking about, including the local media around the Northern Plains. And boy, yeah, it could be an interesting one, so let's kind of get started here and take a look. And we start by taking a look at the upper level pattern, and where this storm system is way off here off the map. It's way kind of past Alaska still at this point. And so that's how far out it is. And that's always kind of the preface of things like this when it's so far out to go, guys, we've got a long ways to go before we really reconcile anything. But nevertheless, we've got this wave that's heading onshore by probably not going to make it really onshore until we get into more Thursday. So here we go. Here's that big, I'll call it short wave, long wave type of pattern, and crashes onto the west coast. And there we go. There's the storm that wraps up, pulls out of the Rockies, has some strong upper level flow with it, and causes all kinds of havoc across the central parts of the United States and moves on east. Now, before that, actually, as we go into Monday night, kind of starting around 6 to 7 p.m. or so, we actually have a little clipper system that's going to be sweeping through our area. So we're warming up for Sunday. Sunday's going to be looking very nice. Then we have this clipper system that's going to be bringing this cold front sweeping through the area, bringing some snow across northeastern parts of Minnesota, but also be bringing some pretty windy conditions coming into Monday night, some colder temperatures as this high pressure system sags into the area. So probably going into Tuesday, perhaps lingering into Wednesday for some of us, especially in the northeastern parts of our area, probably going to be a little bit cooler. But then after that, we kind of start to feel the effects of this bigger low pressure system move into our area, because we've got some southerly winds that begin to develop, start to pull up moisture further north and begin to ride that moisture northward as we go through the week, as well as the warmer temperatures. And here we are, guys. This is the low pressure moving onshore, going into Wednesday or Thursday and on into Friday here. That system begins to pull out of the Rockies. Again, all kinds of moisture being drawn up from the Gulf of Mexico. We've had a few days worth of probably higher dew points getting pulled up. And more than likely, what we're going to be also seeing further south of us is going to be the threat of severe weather. In what form, we'll see. Will it be just damaging straight line winds, or there'll be some tornadoes? We'll see. But the other part of that is some of that moisture might actually get drawn far enough north that perhaps we could get some unsettled weather into southern portions of Minnesota, perhaps southeastern parts of South Dakota as well. And given the temperature profile, perhaps if there's enough spin in the atmosphere, given this low is so tight, maybe we could even see a little spin up of a brief tornado. We'll see. Way too early to tell for sure. But from a meteorology standpoint, very, very interesting in the fact that that is a possibility, at least this far out. Now, the other end of it that we need to talk about is if these storms really do get rocking, and they get rocking early, they might draw some of that moisture away. And so what will happen with us further to the north that are going to be worried about the winter end of things? That's going to be kind of the issue. How much of this activity further to the south is going to rob the moisture from us further to the north and maybe reduce the amount of snow and freezing rain? Now, that's the other thing to talk about, guys. And that is, while it's possible that some areas might not pick up quite as much snow and the big hype is maybe doesn't come through for the amount of snow or maybe the blizzard conditions, the other thing to kind of be concerned about actually is with all this moisture that does get drawn further to the north and runs into this colder air, you might see that transition from rain over to sleet, freezing rain before it does turn over to snow. So we've got that compounding issue. We might be dealing with freezing rain on top of this as well, along with some snow. There's just a whole lot going on with the storm system. Very dynamic, very large. How it's going to shake out, guys, like I said, way too early to tell. If that storm system comes out of Colorado and heads more northward, you're looking at more snow further back to the west. So you're looking, Bismarck, Rapid City, and Williston. has a better potential for snow, while further to the east, you're going to be dealing more so with rain if that happens. And so that's really going to play a big factor on some of that. Now, obviously, if that low tracks just a little bit further to the south, perhaps rides more in through Wisconsin, then that rain's going to be pushed a little bit further to the east, perhaps more into eastern parts, or relegating it more so to the eastern parts of Minnesota. But then that snow line is also going to push a little bit further east. And perhaps some of you further to the west might not get really anything at all when it comes to the snow. And then, of course, that will also play a factor into where will that freezing rain and freezing drizzle and sleet take place between that transition of rain and snow. Then, of course, the wind becomes a factor. And so then where does that snow actually set up? And now we're going to be dealing with some gusty winds to 40 to 50 miles per hour, perhaps even more in some areas. Then on top of that, are you going to be dealing with some freezing rain? Now you have some windy conditions, perhaps some branches coming down. It's all over the place, and it has a lot of different implications to it as to what could happen. So that's why we are concerned about it. Now, could this fizzle out? It could. I mean, that's the unfortunate reality of it at the moment. Some of you probably will wind up being disappointed and go, well, we didn't get anything out of this. Well, it's way too early to tell. But I think the problem is that we're having is the potential behind it at this moment, just because we could be seeing some strong winds, some heavier snowfall, the wet snowfall, the heavy snowfall, and then some freezing rain on top of it. And then also you've got some severe weather implications to it as well. So just a lot to talk about. But unfortunately, we're just not certain where exactly this is going to take place. So if you guys have any type of plans going, and we'll say probably starting Friday, especially for those of you in the western parts of the Dakotas, that's when you got to kind of start to think about some of this weather taking place. More so for eastern Dakotas and Minnesota as we go into Friday night, and then really gets cranking through the day on Saturday. So if you have any travel plans, Friday, Saturday, probably lingering into Sunday, because if this does take place, if a blizzard does happen, then we're dealing with how long will it take for the roads to clear up? So just have some contingency plans in place. That's mainly what this video is about, is just think about it, know that this is coming, and just kind of have a plan. Now, the one thing I always say is, all right, come on, Brad, you're the weather guy, you're the meteorologist, just can you give me just at least some idea right now, early on, where we're looking at? So if you're going to twist my arm right now and ask me, where do I think has the best chance for blizzard conditions? This is it. This is right now, early on. These are the areas in red. So Fargo, Grand Forks, down to Aberdeen, Huron, probably Jamestown, Devil's Lake, Hallock, International Falls. These are the areas that I'm probably concerned about at this moment for seeing blizzard type conditions, mainly in through Saturday. Perhaps a secondary area in these areas in yellow, because if that low pressure does make more of a western type of track, then that means those of you further to the west, so that would include Bismarck, Minot, Dickinson, through Rapid City and Pierre, you guys probably are going to be in the bullseye or going to be having some travel problems. But notice I bring it a little bit further back to the west and not as much to the east. At this moment, I would say that given how most of the models are tracking this, most of you in through here are probably dealing with rain for the most part. So I'm not as concerned for those of you into eastern parts of Minnesota. And then, of course, we're also talking about the freezing rain and sleet type of potential. And unfortunately for those of you in northeastern North Dakota, northwest Minnesota, northeast South Dakota, kind of in that roughly the same area was where I've got the blizzard, you might also have the best chance for seeing the freezing rain at this moment. So early on, really, this is kind of the area I'm most concerned with this particular storm from a winter weather type of standpoint. And then, as I said, who knows, maybe for those of you down in this region here, we could see a little bit of severe weather as well, where we're talking about maybe some hail, some stronger winds, and perhaps a brief spin up of a tornado. We'll see. Obviously not a certainty, but just something to keep an eye on with the storm system, and we'll keep you updated as we get closer to this storm throughout the week. So if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button down below and hit the bell button that pops up beside it. That way you're notified when I've uploaded a video just like this. Guys, it's free. It doesn't cost you anything just to have this little notification to pop up for you on YouTube. That way you know when I've done another video, and we'll keep you updated as we go through the week. And hopefully this comes out okay for most of us, and we can make the plans appropriately out ahead of time and be prepared, right? That's what we need to be. We need to be prepared at least for this. All right, everybody, for Region Weather Live, I'm meteorologist Brad Warner. Everybody, have a good day.